Hello from Colorado from I Know a Guy Bicycles on, is it Tuesday? It must be Shop Talk Tuesday. Hey, welcome back to today's, I wouldn't say special edition, but we're going to do something a little bit different. And yeah, it's 25 to, no, 20, 25 degrees in Fahrenheit in the garage. So it's a little chilly out there to sit through and explain stuff and go through all the hot topics of what we're talking about currently in the state of the state. But yeah, we're definitely in some bizarro times for sure. So I want to address those particular elephants in the room. And thank you for joining me here. So let's see if I get my contrast a little bit up there. There we go. Color intensity. Some, ooh, that's too red. Okay. All right. Anyway, so yes, we will dive into that just momentarily. But in any case, here we are for our first full month of 2025, and my little micro world of looking at the cycling industry through my perspective and my lens from a small bike shop out of a garage. But there's a lot of Twitter chat and so forth has been going on, which is kind of interesting and in a sense kind of concerning in a lot of different perspectives, but we'll get to that in a moment here. But through my perspective of business wise, I'm actually pretty busy for what was January. December is usually pretty decent, knowing that got the Christmas sales and end of the year type stuff. But January and February are typically really slow for my market, in my market, due to the fact that we have winter here. But I do reach out through my videos coming out occasionally. Okay. Not sure if I'm able to fix that on the fly, but hopefully it'll clear up here shortly. In any case, actually what I could do, see if I can change. Oh, I'm gonna be able to change this. I was trying to use my mic that made standard sounds, but I can switch to my cam mic. So hopefully that sounds a little bit better for you. Then I can ditch this little guy. Okay, so all right, I switched it over. So hopefully it's a thumbs up on audio. Are you guys hearing me a little bit better? Just give me a thumbs up. That'd be great. Yeah, it's sometimes the phone stuff. I was trying. What is going on here? Anyways, sorry about the audio issues there, but turn that off. Okay, that's better. All right. Yeah, I switched to the Office, so unfortunately, I was trying to play with my camera and angles and all that, so I'm just gonna have to go with the old school camera and mic on my computer. Anyway, if you're hearing me better, that's great. Awesome. So let's start over. Anyway, state of state without the distractions of audio is kind of interesting. And if you're watching me from other countries, you're probably looking from the outside in going, what the is going on over here? We don't know. As a public, it's just a hot mess of we don't know. That's where the cycling industry is heading into a very painful chapter. Let's just put it that way. But anyway, we got a nice new coffee mug that my mother-in-law gave me. So bike prep. Check your nuts, check your apply lube, and ride hard. Also has a cute little bicycle as a thumb holder. So anyway, not a product plug by any means. I don't know where she got it, so I'll have to ask her. In any case, I might make some for my own, just, whatever. In any case, with my state of the state, if you're just joining me, we're looking at my perspective of a small bike shop. I'm basically am a bike shop, insurance, license, all that, just like any other bike shop, just without the brick and mortar costs. But other than that, everything's appointment based and so forth. So I did an interview with a local shop in town called Precision E-Bikes. And if you want to check out that video, I think you'll have a link, or I'll add that a link below. But in any case, really good insights of a small shop, 600 square foot space, a one-man band doing his thing. And, you know, either it's a garage shop like mine or a small little independent. In that case, the industry is going towards a lot of that due to the fact of costs of running a business is extremely high. But looking at the state of the state, looking at my previous vendors I used to work with back in the day, Latrec, Specialized, Giant, all of them, and where they're in hot water, they had a huge whiplash, right? With the inventory and all that kind of things. And we talked about that quite a bit before. Thanks for hanging out with me at the I Know a Guy Bicycles here. So I'm going to do a little extra fun thing. And if I can get this to work, I was playing with it earlier. I figured instead of just watching my little head do a little bobblehead thing, we're just going to my latest project that I posted, or actually, did I post that? Yeah, I did post it on my other channel, which is This Old Bike. So we're going to just add a B-roll as we're talking. So hopefully it's not too distracting. I'll just put my head a little bit faster. Any case, so this way you can see me actually work on stuff so you can legitimize what I'm doing. Maybe, you know, catch something in a comment on the video beside me. Feel free to what the hell I'm doing. What I'm doing in this particular one, the bike was painted, powder coated, and I was reassembling it. And this particular bike had some serious issues from the powder coat company where they this was a cross bike where you see me lubing the brake posts. And when I got to the back brake posts, they were caked up. So with that hard powder coat, I had a razor blade scrape off those brake posts as well as the bonnet bracket press fit bearing. But in any case, that's the video that you're watching. So back to the industry craziness. So, you know, I try not to add any political addition to this channel. But unfortunately, the industry portion of this is directly affected by, especially now, what we're looking at. And I'm not going to go into super details about that in a sense of what it has, but you got to know if you're looking from the outside in, from not in the United States, or you're sitting in the United States, there was a huge cut on funds to, or attempt to, for government contract work as in government agencies. This is still in play. They're working different angles. Not going into that detail, but what I'm talking about is you're looking at a quarter of the United States population to a third of the population in the United States that makes six-figure incomes fit in this particular category. Well, when you take away the security of, you know, you're supposed to have a government job and be like, oh, I'm good for whatever, I can't get fired. Well, that takes the insecurity out of it. So if you take any market where the purchasing of anything is eroded to 20 to 30% of comfort of purchasing bikes, that is already on top of an unstable market as it is. You're talking about a complete mess, because when you're looking at Trek, Specialized, Giant, all those big companies are trying to navigate through their whiplash and not very financially secure right now. Therefore, going into the next year, 2 or 4 is going to be very challenging. They're going to have to do a lot of different changes. What those changes are, that is going to be yet to be seen. They're going to have to get rid of the creative. But what you will see in the purchasing of individuals, when eggs are $10 US for a dozen eggs, which is ridiculous. And that might be related to the bird flu or what have you. But in any case, when you're looking at that and compounding that with another whiplash of, are we going to have tariffs, not tariffs, what's it going to affect, and so forth. But the bottom line, what really maybe kind of, I was going to hold off on this topic, but I saw on Bicycle Retailer this morning, and I do have the links below. I read a couple articles, and they have an older article on the tariffs and how it's going to affect the cycling industry. Well, the problem is there's a, what's it called? There is one particular part of the tariffs was a kind of an exclusion of tariffs, and that was $800 and less, and it's de minimis, And what that does is allow companies like Temu, AliExpress, any of those Chinese companies that are leveraging Amazon to direct to ship to anybody in the United States, that may go away. And if that goes away with China specifically, you're looking at a huge readjustment for those companies. And they're talking mass volume. And one of those other things is like Beaver, what I use for like a ultrasonic cleaner and that kind of thing. I did a repair stand review, all in the same kind of boat. So how are they going to navigate that? That's just going to be really tricky. And are they going to basically stockpile into another country and, you know, where the tariffs are less and be able to funnel it that way? Or are they going to bring up the prices more on those? It might eliminate, well, it's going to slow down the process of getting that product direct to consumer, which is one, because they won't be able to ship it direct to us. It has to go through customs and all those kind of things, in addition to the increase of price. But when you're looking at companies like that, how are they going to navigate? Not that I'm really for or against them. It's just doing business and looking at companies like that are in those particular countries which are affected. They're going to have some serious hardships, which will translate to we're going to have some hardships trying to find those chains, those brake pads, those cassettes, all those kinds of things. I mean, you know, they can leverage those particular tariffs to get those countries to doing things other than that. But it's what, in the end of the day, the tariffs actually cost us more money as in the consumer, or has to be passed on to the consumer. So in any case, I don't know. They're trying, I mean, this scare tactic has happened over 10 years ago, 12 years, whatever it was. And a lot of companies have shifted. Example, Trek, they moved a lot of their manufacturing from Taiwan to China, or not from China, I'm sorry, to Cambodia. And that's an interesting move because the tariffs with Cambodia and Vietnam are a lot less. Therefore, they're doing that shift. So a lot of companies have done that. But mass production in China is mostly kids' bikes and lower level, entry level bikes. The numbers are huge for quantity, but dollar amounts is not as high as Taiwan and various other companies like Vietnam and Cambodia, because those are the higher price ticket items. So where do we do from this? Where do we go from here? I mean, the articles stay out as like, oh, it's on, it's off. It's, you know, all these companies are trying to navigate this. Well, the bottom line of the consumer, my thought was basically, if you're insecure with your job, where you don't know where you're going to be in 6 months, and which is going to be a huge portion of the United States, you know, in public in general, because the erosion of the government paying jobs have been kind of not there anymore. You don't have confidence in that, which puts it in a bad boat where those upper end bikes are not going to be purchased. Okay, what upper end bikes are going to be purchased? Well, I think a fair amount of e-bikes will be still purchased, because a lot of people will be converting from having a vehicle and insurance and all that to an e-bike for commuting or what have you. So you have that aspect of it, which is a huge market piece right now. Allude to the video that I did with Ebike, Precision e-bike, and his percent. I will be talking with Josh at a time where we'll look at more of the market and how it is affected with the e-bike business, especially after what's going to come out. So the people are going to be purchasing those 1,000, 2,000 to 3,000 bikes are going to be more of an e-bike, not so much recreational. That 2% are already about bikes. So the middle class, upper middle class that can't afford those are not going to be buying. If they already bought already, are not going to be buying. And allude to a lot of those bikes, some of them are going to go right onto the used market. So check out Pro's Closet, because they're back and they're going to have a pretty good insurgent of those used, lightly used couple-year-old bikes, because people are going to be just basically dumping them to pay the bills. So where does that put the rest of the market and independent bike dealers? Well, the used market is still going to be pretty strong, because people are still going to want bikes and rides. So they're not going to pay for that $2,000 bike. They're going to buy $1,000 or less, either a department store-ish bike, or they're going to go towards a used market and have it fixed up or fix it up themselves. there goes into the parts, tires, rim tape, brake pads, cables and housing, all that. Well, guess what? All those are made out of or come from China, and various companies are actually being impacted by the tariffs themselves. So those prices are going to go up, possibly, if not already. And the surplus on those particular items, they sold down. So they're not going to be, I mean, maybe a couple of companies will be pretty heavy on certain things, but it's really going to be kind of a crapshoot in a sense of you finding that 1.9 speed chain. Most of them might go up in price, and it might be still a couple on sale. Somebody's sitting on quite a few of them, but how the inventory flows, if they're, I mean, I saw a lot of items kind of go off sale, not just because it's January, because anticipation of this price increase. So they're going to just hold on to their inventory for a month or two if they can, and kind of absorb this flux and influx. And again, our season has not even started yet. So we're talking about, for the United States, the top half where it's still cold, which it is right now, and gray and chilly, and a lot of people are not riding, even though I did get to go for a ride on Sunday, which was 65 degrees Fahrenheit here, which was a beautiful day, but super windy. So my workout on the way back was horrendously hard, but it was at least warm, which is anomalous. But the rest of the United States doesn't start seeing that up bump kick in sales starting in March or April, and that could all be dependent on the weather too. So in our region, our area, so we have snow on the weekends, it kills our business locally. So they're for the service aspect of it, or people looking for newer bikes, which they may not be looking for newer bikes because they're going to be worried about paying for extra costs on eggs and also losing their job. Couple shout outs. Thanks again for joining me. If you're just joining me in, I'm just talking about my perspective of what we're in state of state, the first month into, or month and a week into the 2025, where we're having some serious, oh, you can see me hanging out. I was trying to get this in together. Yeah, press fit bottom brackets are troublesome sometimes. In any case, yeah, thank you for joining me. I'm going to be talking about state of state with split screen and me actually working on the bike for those who want to actually watch and listen at the same time. And thank you for joining me. It's been an interesting couple of weeks, and just wanted to give a shout out to all those that are not currently in the States or out looking outside in. Hi, thank you for joining us. I know there's a few from Australia, New Zealand, and the UK. Thank you for taking the time to hang out. Also Canada. Thanks, Joe. Thanks for coming in and telling me about my mic. Anyway, Joe's up in Canada. I know has his own channel, so check it out. Pretty cool. It's just, an old guy in a garage making paddles, which is kind of cool. So shout out for your channel there, Joe. Thank you for chiming in and being a avid supporter of a Noah guy. Chris Witt, thank you for joining us. Let's see here. I've got. Well, you'd think the tariffs would limit people from stopping buying, but unfortunately, if you're financially challenged to be able to come up with the funds to buy more expensive bikes, and it doesn't have to be huge, and they're not educated on that too. So you're looking at 80% of the market being pumped into Walmart, Target, and then it's divided up with Dick's Sporting Goods and our other sporting good chains like Sports Academy here in the United States. So that's going to be a hard turn to get those people, and it's always been that way. It's always been kind of a hard educational piece. And the tariffs are not going to really limit that. It is going to increase the prices at those particular locations. But when you walk into a Trek or a Specialized store, the price points elevate. There's a huge gap already in the industry from the department store brands to the Trek and Specialized stores, because you're looking at $1,000 to $2,000 for a decent bike. And even looking at a road bike, even though they have $1,000 road bike, it's the bottom of the bottom. It was okay. It'll get you into it if it's done correctly, but that's the case. Just want to address your tariff reflection there, Chris. But yeah, everybody has their own opinions how it's going to affect. And that's the thing. We do not know how this is going to really come out. It's going to be a historian perspective in a couple of years going, well, went bad, but if you look at it, if you look at any kind of history, the Great Repression, they tried to do a whole tariff thing, and it backfired on the government at that particular time. And then the whole economy in the United States completely plundered. Hopefully, we're a little more resilient. I think we are than that back then, but it does not help. Let's just put it that way. It's not helping anything that we're already in a struggling ecosystem already with the cycling industry. Mark, thanks for joining in. Good morning to you. One of the biggest shops in Las Vegas just shut their doors, closed. My guess would be they had to be $7. What was that? $7 shift, yeah, cables and maybe overpriced tires, sealant. You know, yeah. Vegas is interesting. We have a condo in Vegas, and I'm going to do a little sidebar of like different ecosystems and different markets. And again, all these different markets are going to be affected differently to some degree within the United States and worldwide, because a lot of countries rely on our economical ecosystem to thrive or not thrive. So, and I'm not a economist, whatever, but I do see it through a lens of my perspective. And going back to Vegas, and when I looked at their used market, and I've been looking for a used, I mean, for me to travel a bike there was kind of cumbersome and all that. And, you know, I was always just kind of waiting to find a bike there in my price point. But every time I went to Las Vegas, the used market was expensive, more expensive. So the bikes that I can get here in Colorado and Denver metro corridor area was, you know, $200-300, and in Vegas it was a couple $100 more, and they were not budging. They were not going to go down on price, because the market there is more seller's market than a buyer's market for used bikes, you would think, you know, but but the volume's not there as well, so it's not as deep. So when you're looking at the bike shops, there's a lot of reasons why bike shops go under. Most of the time it's the retail space, when they have to go up and pay for the next lease within 3 to 5 years, whatever the lease agreement they have, that will partially kill the business. Or then you have family possibly, or staffing, or owners perspective. So there's a lot of different reasons, but shift cables being $7, yeah, that's a little high. And it all depends what shift cables are, and the sealants could, you know, if you're looking at the slime sealant that's $9.99 at Walmart, and then you're trying to sell it for $27-29, it's not gonna not work. But they may have gotten too far down the hole where they were relying on the brands. And Mark, if you can shoot me what brands they were carrying, I can probably give a little bit of insight of what may have hurt them. Any case, but yeah, and it's been a lot of shops been kind of dropping ever since then. It's been kind of interesting, and you know, needless to say, we're definitely in some serious outcomes on that. Doug, thank you for joining us. Our 2-ounce bottles of Kristana red food coloring is $20. Wow. Yeah, things are expensive in different places. Just Ride, thank you for joining us. Yeah, there's also that market too. The fat just Ride was mentioning about fat bikes. I mean, obviously we sell fat bikes here in Colorado, but not as much as you think. Fat bikes, it was really kind of eye opener when I lived in Michigan for 2 years. The Ann Arbor, Ypsilanti area, huge in cycling community, and on top of that, in winter they have nothing else to do but ride their fat bikes. So here in Colorado, our weather gets nice and cold, so fat bikes are really not a huge thing unless you go up in the hills. But yeah, that's you know, a lot of people in different markets really leverage those fat bike as one of those stables of N+1 bikes in their stables for sure. Pat, thank you for joining us from Minnesota. Yeah, it's chilly up there for sure. Oh, Chris, you're in central Minnesota too. Yeah, Vax bikes are a prime. Yeah, are nice. Yeah, our lakes here froze over. It'd be really kind of fun. There's a whole bunch of ice fishing. We do have ice fishing here, believe it or not. Not that people drive their cars out there like they do up north, like you guys in Minnesota, the land of 1,000 lakes. But Yeah, it'd be really kind of a fun event to do, like an ice race on fat bikes. But I think the liability insurance can nip that in the bud for sure. All right. Okay. I guess I got all the shout outs. Everybody's like chatting in the comments there. All right. Let me add another little presentation video so you're just not seeing my bottlehead. I downloaded this one too. This one should be. This one's off of Grip Shift X-Ray. Give me a hands up, a click, or whatever, saying you remember the X-Ray grip shift. Found these. I did a refurbish on a 970. I found a set of these I put on there, and yeah, the smoked grip shift is. I used those in the 90s, and it was kind of a brain teaser, picking that timeline back in the day that when I've worked on those. I haven't seen one in years. The newer grip shifts are a little bit easier to work on, and the cable actuation is easier on that too. But anyway, side note on the video, wherever my hand is. But in any case, so yeah, looking at the industry, I mean, so yeah, we talked about how it's going to be affecting some shops, and well, we really haven't talked about that. Let's talk about that. How it's going to affect the shops is, well, their brands are going to be nervous. They're not. Some of them are not going to be supportive. Some of them will be a little more supportive. Some will be trying to navigate what this is. They're always going to be like, oh, we're going to try to be the best for you through this hardships. Either that's through financing or through product, or not as high. It's like not taking in as much inventory. Prior to COVID, just a little bit of history lesson here. Prior to COVID, our typical bike shop, independent bike shop, was leveraging quality bike supply, and the Trek dealer I worked at was leveraging quality bike supply, and Trek itself had a huge warehouse of chains, cassettes, and everything else besides Trek. So they were combating and trying to take up the market of quality bike supply. QBP, if you don't know, is one of the leading distributors within the United States of all parts, tires, and bike-related stuff. JB Importers is another one, and so forth. So a bike shop would actually scale their inventory down to only carry what they would need to sell through rate within a week or two. Okay, this is basic inventory philosophy. So basically, they get sold down on road tubes, and it blew my mind because they didn't have hardly any backstock of road tubes. They only had like 50 on the floor, and that was it. Well, they knew they were never going to sell through 50 in 1 week through their analytics. So what they did is reordered every week or two, and we had an auto fulfillment through Trek's website. And then if it didn't show up there, it was integrated with a send through Trek, their website program, to order the rest of the inventory that you were missing from Trek on QBP. So that made it a little bit easier for ordering practices within the bike shop of Trek, and Specialized dealers and all the other dealers did the same thing, but not as fluid, but they'd use their own vendors. But the key takeaway was they didn't keep it in inventory as backstock. Well, when you're seeing something like this hitting, and your tubes are going to go up 50 cents to $1 more, and tires to $5 to $10 more for costs, they may have bought more inventory on your bread and butter parts and accessories, and maybe bikes. This was actually a scare back in the 90s. I remember this because we bought a whole freaking ton of rubber, and needless to say, that little scare was short-lived, and it was kind of felt like manufacturers kind of did the rumor of it. But in any case, we had way too much product for a while. I mean, we had enough tires to last us 2 years, let's put it that way, for bread and butter tires. So, and that's when you're looking at your society is, we didn't have internet, the news wasn't fast, you didn't get all this detail as we have today. So that's going to be a completely different kind of shift. So going back to the small individual shops, Well, the prices on those things are going to go up, and they may have to charge more. I mean, cables and housing might be one, like Mark was mentioning at the Vegas shop, and sealants and so forth, because you're not going to get those volume discounts like we were prior to going into the new whatever norm this is. And the chaos norm, as John Bradley put it, it's like, man, this is hard on everybody to navigate. We just, as a bike shop, you're just happy for any customer to come in the store and has any interest of buying anything at this point, because we don't know what's going to happen to our market, our local area. I mean, take for example, Fort Collins area or Boulder in Colorado, they are very heavily influenced by government contracts through the universities doing research. So going back to what I was talking about before, when you have any kind of erosion of confidence, if money flows, people are not going to be hired or let go, or it's all a huge wait and see heartburn. And it's just that kind of thing is just you can't make any big decisions going forward as a department, which directly affects your economics around your whole university town. And also tech. Boulder's huge. They have like NOAA there and a lot of other, a lot of different agencies that do leverage government contracts. So, and Boulder is known to be one of the biggest cycling communities in Colorado. So when you're looking at that perspective, it can be shockingly painful. So a lot of those shops are, independent shops, as we've been kind of trying to leverage and move around and adjust and do all those things to try to keep in business. And case in point, talking about a shop that recently opened in the last 10 months, Go Guava. It's in the comments below, a link there. He also had a great conversation about tariffs. I've learned a few things about it because he did a lot of research on it. I suggest after watching this, watch his on that, and also some other insights of a small shop, thinking what you're getting into, and all of a sudden like, oh, I got to do all these changes. And all of a sudden within 9 months, he's completely, I want to say completely, but is shop and inventory is like changed to fit the market and learning of the market that he's currently in, which is kind of crazy. And that's what it doesn't matter if you just started up a shop last year or 10 years ago or 20 years ago. I mean, you may have a little more insights for your market and how it works, but even in mine, with all my, being in industry for over 30, 35 years, I shifted in the last 5 years from not solely just refurbishing bikes to doing a lot of service. And look at me, I'm on YouTube. That's half my business now. A case in point, look at the Bike Farmer. I know some of you guys are not to the greatest thoughts of the Bike Farmer, but he is a case study where he is taking a one-man shop in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin, and 10 miles from Trek, just working on low-end bikes, started a YouTube channel. His personality apparently launched it. And now I can guarantee you most of his income, if not half, at least is coming from the YouTube portal. So, and he has, I think, 60,000 subs, which I'm chasing him, of course. But he does proof of concept. So if you're a shop owner, small shop owner, YouTube or social media outlets leverage that. The other video I just saw recently was kind of a eye-opener perspective was, I think it's, how is it, Rad BMX. He's one of those BMX guys. And he was talking about social. After this video, I'll put his link to that video below. But or if you saw it, throw it in the chat. But in any case, he was talking pretty brutally honest of how the social, I mean, one person like myself leveraging social media, several different portals, what's hot, what's not, what's, going to go under like TikTok or not go under, or who gets bought out and what platform works best for you. He basically just like, some of them are just a waste of time toilets and cut out. And he's leveraging currently now it's YouTube. So which is great. And it's one of those things where we have to really identify what works for us, because when you post a video or content, it needs to be over multiple platforms. I have a website as well as the BMX guy does, and he leverages that to do a business out of his garage as well. So when you're looking at that, this will help us hopefully get through some of these hardships and weirdness that we're experiencing. But at the end of the day, what really makes my income is the repairs and the customers. So what are those customers, or what are they looking for? They're looking for mechanics to work on their bikes because they're not going to be able to afford new ones, or the availability is going to now eventually shake out in the next couple of years where they overbought, and those big companies are going to scale back and be more targeted, and that inventory may not last as long. So they're being very light-footed about their inventories, which is going to directly affect that high-end market. And then you look at the costs of the department store brands are going to go up, which is another pinch. So the used market, I believe, this is the year for the used market to flourish. So the pros closet coming back from the ashes, revamping, if they do it right, they may do pretty well, because it's just going to be one of those markets. If you're looking for a higher end with a better deal, that's probably the direction to go. I haven't seen their prices drop that much, but you're going to see some shops like Will and Sprocket, for example, in the Wisconsin area. You also have a couple of stores in Chicago and then Milwaukee. I always think Milwaukee of Happy Days, so I'm that old. In any case, I did not see the Happy Days thing there when I was there. But case in point with Will and Sprocket, I look at, they sell used and they will ship, and they're leveraging it. And I just poked at their inventory this morning, and it's gone down quite a bit. So they sold through a lot of items, either locally or through their 10 shops or through their website. But in case in point, I believe those are the units are going to be selling more of. And guess what? Except for the parts that you're putting on the bike to fix up, they're not going to be affected by any of the other than the tariffs, and that's going to be a micro amount versus a whole bike. So here we are. It's it's super chaotic, and Trek's going to be very quiet about this as well. All the companies are going to be super quiet because they don't want to show any more fractures that they've already shown in the last couple of years of how their business has just kind of been volatile, and they're all going to be doing these massive adjustments of trying to get things to work for them and just to get through this readjustment. And they're calling it readjustment, but it's more of it shook all of them by the core for sure. But in any case, Bicycle Shop, thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. Oh yeah. You like the love fest between Aaron and I. Yeah, we've been chitter chat. We're gonna get some we're gonna do some collaboration videos. He's trying to get to Cabda. If you don't know what Cabda is the bike show that's currently surviving so far. Cabda has 3 different shows. One's on the East Coast, one's at Chicago, middle of the United States, and they have one on the West Coast. And the West Coast is going to have the MBDA out there, National Bicycles Dealer Association, and they're going to have their P2 thing they're going on to try. They're really pushing that show. So I think you're going to see a lot more people at that show in Las Vegas. I have not been to the Cabda show. Last show I went to is Interbike, which is it was in Reno, it was the last one, but the one before that was in Las Vegas too. Very, very sad shows, comparably what they were in the 90s, but very interesting to see how we're sitting in 2 months from now, and how those companies are going to be reacting. And I hear it's really e-bike heavy, which is, it's cool. I mean, it's be nice to check that out. What would be really cool for me is being a bicycle industry person, but every different parts of it over the years, and then kind of share experiences with the newer lads like Aaron or Josh from Precision e-bikes, that's been in the industry for a long time, and his insights and takeaways from the show. Because a show is kind of an individual perspective experience. you're just sensory overload with all the different things and everybody's different pitches and sell points and whatever cool stuff. So, and also you have your own perspective of what your shop is and what you're looking for. I'm not really going to purchasing or do connections in the sense other than maybe interviews and other of that. You never know. I may have a seek an opportunity or partnership or what have you, leveraging my shop and YouTube channel or what have you, from there. But we have a little condo in Vegas, and it was really close that we were going to be there anyway for my daughter's spring break. So I will stay a couple extra days and check it out, see what it's like. And it's going to be fun regardless. And a buddy of mine from the old bike shop days at Parker Bikes, he's going to hang out with me for a couple days. So he's gone to the shows in Interbike back in the day, and he does all my front end website design too. So if you're a bike shop and you need website design, let me know. Maybe I can give you some help or lead you in some directions. In any case, now your channel and the Bike Farmers start watching both and about the same time. My two favorite biking channels now. Thanks, Joe, for chiming in about that. I mean, Bike Farmer individual, I have to give him kudos. He's doing a really good job what he's doing. His personality doesn't strike a lot of people. Mine doesn't either. Doesn't strike everybody right. And that's just kind of how it is. But in a case in point is his channel has exploded and he's at 60,000+ subs and paving the way. So it gives, if anything, gives us opportunities to, maybe we need to leverage that. And as a small YouTube channel shop, I might be able to leverage my channel to help other shops. So like if you're a shop that doesn't have time to do the YouTube thing, I can do interviews of the shop, bring in insights, kind of like the example of Precision e-bike, and leverage making posting tech videos and that kind of. So you can leverage YouTube without actually having to leverage YouTube and do all. It's a lot of work. I mean, this is a lot of work, and you have to have thick skin and a lot of time put into it. And I put a lot of upfront time where I probably should have been just focusing on selling parts and bikes. But I knew for me, for long term, that was the best case scenario because there's only so many tune-ups I can do. There's only so many parts I can list in a day. There's only so many. It's like it's a one-man band, and I don't want to expand. I'm at the point where that is kind of not really an option. I mean, it can be, but I'd rather not. That kind of thing. So, in any case. All right. Bike man for you. Oh, I had almost about 90,000. So there's been several channels in years past that have come and gone that have really hit the market, and some are still around, some have just tapered off. And the social media burnout is a thing. Like, let's say if I got a job offer and I was making 6 figures doing something else other than what I'm doing here, the channel probably be dropped. It's just, that's one of the, I mean, don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. That's not going to happen. And that's where I want to go. But that's where some of those individuals are probably like, oh, I have something going on here, but oh man, it's like you just can't do both sometimes. Or it might be a conflict of interest of where they're working. So that might be a thing too. I'm sure if I went to work for any of those big brands, it'd be like, oh, you got to kill your channel. Not that I'm applying or any of that nature, nor do I want to. Oh, hey, Blue Sky Cycles. Thanks for joining in. Blue Sky Cycles is a shop in Greeley, Colorado that does e-bikes as well. They're a community shop, small one-man individual. I've heard good things from the locals, so it's a good shop. So if you're in Greeley, need to rent a bike or get something worked on, give them a shout out. But yeah, how did Josh feel about the e-bike rebate? It's killing my business. He lightly touched on that. We really didn't talk about that too much. I was going to do a follow-up interview with him of how all the, like, more of the the industry perspective of, the rebate thing. And it didn't sound like, coming from you, it didn't sound like it did well at first and is not doing well now. That's unfortunate. So he's really, though, mostly in repair. the service portion of it. So he does sell some units, but probably not nearly as you. So he's really more service focused initially. But in any case, doing upgrade kits and so forth of that nature too. All right. Oh, Mark, Cabot East should be called Cabot E-Bike Show. Okay. Yeah, market insights. Yeah, I'll be seeing. However you feel about e-bikes, it definitely is infiltrated and definitely is part of the bike shows, and probably will be going for future here for sure. Oh, no pants. I got pants. Well, yeah. Nice little shop. Yeah. I decided to do in the office, do a split screen thing as a tester and see if you guys like it. It was a little chilly in the garage today and it's cloudy, so I have a south facing garage where the heat really does, if it's sunny, warms up the garage area, so it makes it manageable. Right now it's cloudcast and super chilly. We were in the teens first thing in the morning Fahrenheit, now into the 20s, but still have not warmed up. It's like 27 degrees Fahrenheit now. So it was pretty chilly. A little hard for me to focus and so forth, but I figured, had an idea after last week's stream, like, oh, I could leverage this B-roll of like, yeah, you were complaining I wasn't working on bike shop, so here you go, right here. That's me working on stuff, trying to figure out old grip shit. Any case, yeah. I was doing, the funny thing is I was with Retail Toolkit, just a sidebar, owned by a bike shop, Will and Sprocket. That's why I mentioned them before, because I know Noel and the family there pretty well, and really good shop, really good family, really great for the community. They also had a software program called Retail Toolkit, and it's like Wheel Toolkit. Then it switched to the Retail Toolkit, which basically helped inventory management software plugged into the back end to tell you. It was a great little algorithm. Well, I implemented it with all these different ones, and working for them. So I was like the liaison of a guy that works in the bike shop that knows how to use the software and how to implement into your, how to talk to shop people, because, like all those bike shop people, you throw something in front of us that's super new, especially software, we're going to be just like angry and pissed off that our boss did that to us, but once, I was like the calming factor is like, let's walk through this and help you. And so in lieu, I had to do a whole bunch of Zoom calls, and I was used to the whole Zoom faux pas before COVID hit. So when everybody was like ditching off to the bathroom and hearing the toilet flush in the background, to kids in the background, or the funniest one I had was like, I was talking to an accountant and she was working from home, and all of a sudden her daughter streaks by with underwear on. I mean, she was clothed, but it was like, it's like, oh, I didn't see that. No, I was looking away. Never mind. So things like that, right? It's like so embarrassing. And sometimes your environment doesn't really conducive to doing live stream. So doing this, I'm hiding in my office, and it is definitely a lot warmer than my garage in any case. So everybody had those. And working from home has always been uniquely fun and challenging at the same time. All right, James, thanks for joining us. Yeah, good morning to you too. I haven't heard of motorcycle. Somebody here probably has. That's more in the e-bike realm. Yeah, the e-bike thing, it's going to be an interesting topic to talk about, because you have some other pieces of the pie where there I am. Where you have like, was it Yamaha that had motors, and they were doing it, and then they weren't making a profit in the United States, and then they had to pull back, and then they're still doing it in Europe. Then you look at all these different other e-bike companies that They're basically no names, and they're just kind of flooded the market. And that's well, talking to Josh was very intriguing, because he said a lot of them, as long as they can get a hold of the company, get parts and things to work, support from those companies, it's a lot better. But he said it was like 2 or 3 companies that he won't touch because you can't get a hold of them. And one of the companies he had a hard time with, I'm not going to say the name of the company, but it was a big brand, like a big brand name, smaller company, but a big name doing high-end stuff. And he's having a hard time getting parts because the motors were made over in Europe, and there's a lot of disconnect. I'm not sure if you ever got that fixed, and it'd be a heartache if I got a bike shipped to me from them and I was able to fix it. And also Canyon has a huge recall on some of their motors or something like that. So yeah, the whole e-bike thing, we already have a huge amount of challenges, from manufacturing to the front line mechanics trying to work on stuff. And as Josh at Precision E-Bike was saying, for him, like a lot of his customers they're commuting, like they need it that day. So either you can fix it on the fly, which he does all the like non-e-bike part, like flat fixes and other things. But if it's related to the motor and battery, therefore it becomes a lot more challenging. And I'm sure Blue Sky Cycles can vote to that. I mean, he carries, I think he only works with his brands that he carries with maybe a couple others, but there's a whole, certification process with Bosch and Shimano. Old motors were in and they're not, maybe they're back. I don't know. I'll have to see that at the show. And then there's like a whole bunch of other ones out there that have been around for a long time, and then some not so much. So that's a huge, where you're looking at the biggest increase in market right now is that. And Josh pointed out to me, this was very interesting, that we all live by this for the last 3 decades of the bicycle retailer, which I'm not plugging them because they paid me anything, but they've been like the news rag for cycle industry way before the internet. And that's the only way you can get a lot of your most biased, non-Kool-Aid stories and so forth. But basically the import analyst thing that they have is this guy here, and it's usually only the printed copy, and it'll show, I think you can download some of the older months of years, and the categories, they don't have e-bike on there. They have 700, they go by wheel sizes, mostly kids, 20, 24, 27, 700C, and mountain bike comfort. From mountain bike comfort, that's kind of like 2 different worlds smashed in one, and the other would be all your e-bikes. And knowing that the e-bike portion has to be the biggest elephant or biggest market right now, as in units as well as costs. I mean, they're more expensive. All right. Catch up on some of these chats here. See what you guys are jibber jamming about. I saw that on the bicycle industry. The worst chance forge this future. The companies in JBI and Segway. Well, yeah, when you see Segway moving in, they're a big company for sure. Back and forth work because just right as a point. It's like the e-bike. A lot of people. It's great commuters. It's great for commuters. Cargo bikes are becoming huge. I remember seeing my first one like 10 years ago, and I was like, "What the hell is this thing?" And it's you commute around. If like nine months of the year here in Colorado, you can easily commute around, if not more, on a cargo bike or e-bike for transportation. If you're close to bike paths and you work off of a bike path, both cities, Loveland and Fort Collins, are so on top of snow removal on the bike paths. Sometimes the bike paths are clearer than the regular roads. I found that out several times when I was commuting back in the day. And I only had like a mile and a half ride, but even then I still rode a cruiser, even when it was snowy out and icy. Did biff it once and took one of those skid slides on a sheet of ice on a 10 o'clock shift when I left Big Five. But in any case, it was interesting. But yeah, that's a huge thing. The only future for the broken Amazon special e-bikes are to be turned back into regular bikes. And it's not worth fixing up electronic. Yeah, and there's also the lift. That's the cost lift on repairing bikes is nothing new. It's just more expensive when you're looking at a motor and battery, especially. And talking to Josh was eye opener. Some of those lower end ones you're expected to last maybe a year, and then you have a whole landfill issue. Like, oh, I can't fix this up. It's kind of junky and so forth. Yeah, and we've been toting that for a long time, and a lot of the problems is from those bikes. A good portion of it, not all, don't get me wrong, and this is going to sound bad coming from a bike mechanic, but if they're assembled correctly out of the gate, they may last a little bit longer. Let me just say that. I'm not going to say that it's perfect, but if you buy yourself a Walmart special e-bike, take it into a shop to make sure all the nuts and bolts, all the basic parts, it doesn't have to be an e-bike eccentric shop, just to make sure everything is adjusted correctly. And that's with a non-e-bike ones, they'll last a lot longer. So the investment up front, having that $50 or $100 tune-up, on a new bike may last those a lot longer. I know it's an uplift on somebody who can't really afford a bike in the first place, but it does. That is not throwing your money away in a year from now. Let's put it that way. But you're right. There's going to be a surplus of those bikes that are going to I'll just pull the motor off and throw it or whatever you need to do to lighten the load and replace a couple, chain of cassette and call it a regular bike. I'm not sure how many of those you can do on some of those. Look like more motorcycle-ish versus e-bike-ish. Oh, Scott, thanks for joining. Thanks for listening in. Scott is a local customer of mine, great, awesome guy. He has if he doesn't mind me telling everybody, he has a Lightspeed titanium road bike he's been riding for over 3 decades. And I've had the pleasure to working on it several times and keeping him going. Rides a lot. And it's a testimonial of how a bike could be if it's built correctly from the beginning. It'll last you a long time. There you go. In any case, what you got to say there, Scott? E-bikes are certainly reality for many. There are those who are. Yeah. Oh, everything shifted on me. Sorry about that. Faster with traditional cyclists. So yeah, there's. The e-bikes have, especially in our little neck of the woods, right, Scott? I mean, we both ride the bike paths and so forth around here. And, those e-bike individuals, they are, I see a lot of groups of people that would not typically be riding. I call them the granny old ladies. You've probably seen them, Scott. It's like 4 or 5 of them. They're not going fast, but they're all on e-bikes. Oh, and there's another, and they're having a great blast. They're having a time. They're having a great time. They're probably going out to coffee or brunch or whatever, and they're just out there having a good time. And I saw another group on Sunday when I was riding with my daughter with a tag along. Yeah, good tailwind, horrible headwind. Not a long ride, but it was a long ride. But in any case, I did come across, it was a group of older riders, and there's several clubs I've noticed on the bike paths, and some were mixed, and that had a mix of e-bikes, and they weren't going fast, and they seemed to be, everybody had smiles, even though they had a monster headwind. They all had smiles. That's all I have to say. I mean, they're out there doing things. And the only thing that's more cautionary tale is those who are just haven't ridden a lot. There's 2 pieces. One is when they're on the bike paths and so forth and cooking, going really fast, you got to be careful. The 15 mile per hour is the limit that you should be, and nothing more than that on bike paths. Because you got kids, you got dogs and all that. You should keep it, more recreational. If you want to go that fast, ride along the bike lane of a road. Other than that, and you can get speeding tickets. Just a heads on that. The second cautionary tale is what I did, Lou, with talking to Josh at Precision e-bike, is if you haven't been riding a long time and you get an e-bike, you just stick to the 1 or 2 gears. You need to knock that motor down a couple notches to make it a little bit harder to pedal, and then you shift using those 9 or 8 or 9 gears, and that's distributing the load. Because if you don't, you're going to burn out the 1 or 2 cogs in your chain at the same time. The drive chain, that's with all bikes. So it's not e-bike specific. So there alludes to that for sure. All right. Thanks for chiming in, Scott. Appreciate it. Bicycle shop, food delivery business. Yeah, in Europe. Yeah, we probably will start seeing more of that. That or drone drops. If Whole Foods has their way, for sure. Oh, it's happening in Chicago. Yeah, chilly in Chicago. Amazon bikes are like a lighter. You see what it works and throw it away and get a new one. Yeah, it's kind of, well, that's kind of a lot of those lower end. It's turning to burn them, unfortunately, on that. Oh yeah, 1991, Scott. Yeah, 91. That's right. Lightspeed Ultimate. Great bike and even a better. Oh, thanks. I try my best being the mechanic. So yeah, Lightspeed was very interesting in the last year. They had I mentioned this before in my other talks and also videos, is they have a trade-in for your old Lightspeed to buy a new Lightspeed. And they had so voter confidence, it didn't have an age on the Lightspeed, like any Lightspeed. And that trade-in would go to a charity, nonprofit charity in Atlanta. So they don't take them and resell them. They basically give them to this charity, which helps provide income to keep the charity running, which brings in inner city individuals to learn how to work on bikes and so forth. That's if I remember the article correctly. But it was pretty cool. I mean, it was like, okay, that's a cool thing. Let's think of more of things like big brands doing more cooler things like that. Like Chuck could do the same thing. They do have a trade-in, but they do have a resell Red Barn thing too that they're trying to leverage to use. Used bikes as well, but mostly it's their demo fleet and whatever, and they're all still really expensive, that kind of thing. Any case, that's what we got. But yeah, let's just take a look here. See if this is the right one. Yeah. So what eluded this conversation today is this article. Is it this article? No, that was the other one. Riding a bicycle retailer. Hopefully I'm not offending anybody at bicycle retailer using their page, but I'm promoting it, so hopefully it's all good. And I'm not spewing out a whole bunch of Chicken Little, my hair is on fire. That already happens in the shop as it is without this. But when you're looking at this particular, breaking news, and they also plugged it on their other shows, you'll see it on LinkedIn, Facebook, and I'm sure Twitter and other places, of these main 2 articles where the industries, how they're affected. And if you want to get some insights, it's pretty interesting. Prior to this, there was an opinion piece, which down a couple would have been the tariffs, what it can do for the bike industry. Hopefully you guys are seeing this. Yeah, okay. Actually, let me blow that up so it's a little bit bigger so you guys can see it. So this one was very interesting. It was a good read. They did kind of, I think that one they actually kind of griped about YouTube influencers, clickbaity type things. Sure, fine. At least I try to give my opinion piece of 35 years of experience within the industry. But then, the Mexico-Canada thing, it was kind of interesting because within that, I learned a little bits of, all these pieces move around from various places and different countries. This did have a couple charts where a lot of parts and frames and accessories are coming from Mexico. And this has been going on for the last 10 years where industry has been shifting to offset the China thing, because that's been a thing for a while. That's not new, but the added tariffs are on top of what's already there. And the Canadian part was very interesting too, because there's a couple companies and distributors through Canada working with Retail Toolkit. We had a couple Canadian bike shops, and talking to them and how they do their business is quite vastly different to what we did ours in the United States. And it's basically how they get their parts and frames, and they had to usually do a lot of pre-season and one lump sum, and then distributing and building stuff and sending it to the United States and what have you is very interesting. But you have a couple of bike brands as well that leverage. Kona is one that leverages. I don't know if it's in this one article, but Kona leverages, they're a United States company, but they leverage warehouse in Canada. And Rocky Mountain, which does a lot of mountain bike stuff, is in Canada, and they've had a little bit of a trouble too prior to all this, restructuring their finances, that kind of thing. And then the de minimis. This is something that's been in effect for a long time, and I didn't know about this actually until I watched a video from Go Guava, Aaron over there, because he talked about the $800 cap. So anything under $800 was they could ship direct to United States. Well, that's going to be cut apparently, and that's going to cut like Temu, AliExpress, all the Chinese companies are leveraging Amazon. Going back to that topic, that's huge. So if anybody's looking for inexpensive tools, parts, grips, any of that kind of stuff, which I don't use Temu or AliExpress, but I do leverage products on Amazon, and that makes it very tricky to do such things for sure. But that's where we're at. I mean, and that's where a lot of people that work on their own bikes, they leverage that. I mean, even it's like a small repair shop garage, thing where they're not going to have the J&B importer or the QBP contracts for wholesalers because they just don't do the volume. So they're going to buy a couple chains there. So, but here's the thing, you can still leverage QBP, even though you don't know QBP. The shops that leverage QBP. QBP has a direct-to-consumer portal. So in other words, if you had a bike shop and you had a website and you had a point-of-sale website, you can leverage that using the API key with contracts, of course, with Quality Bike Supply. You can purchase it through your website, but it actually generates a ticket at QBP, and then they ship it direct to the consumer. Case in point, 365 Cycles, which I bought some cables and housing from just recently. One of the notifications did say it shipped from a QBP warehouse. So it's drop shipping from those warehouses. So basically they drop the prices on them because to them it's no harm, no foul. So they have the control of the pricing. So they make it really cheap. Therefore it drives more sales, and they're getting sales where they don't need to touch anything, just maintenance it. So all the shipping and the returns and all that are done through the QBP process. It was a Competitive Cyclist, I think it was another one that uses that. Or Universal, maybe not Competitive, but Universal Cyclery or something like that does that as well. And they list the warehouse. They say they have warehouses, but it's the same locations where the QBP warehouses are. So therefore, a bike shop like me, it's a few more bucks than over costs, but I figure that a sanity tax, so I don't have to have contracts or any of that with them for the low volume. But if I do generate more volume, like wax chains and stuff like that, I'm gonna probably venture and see if I can leverage that or get an account. But I'd have to hit a certain benchmark of purchasing, which I don't think I'll hit on the volume that I'm doing. So. But where you're looking at how those tariffs are going to affect those things, where chains and clothing, grips and tubes and tires that are made in those particular countries where tariffs are going to be affecting those bread and butter items, a lot of those, if it's from anything that's through the J&B importers or QBP or even Jensen's USA, which is another vendor-ish, but they do direct to consumer. They used to be a vendor, and Jensen's USA in California. Their prices are pretty good. They're all going to be affected by this to some level. And either they did precautionary tell, as a lot of them upfronted a lot of inventory, tried to get it in before everything new to assumed to happen. Maybe. Or there are ways of doing it for manufacturing, like they'll bring the parts in and what they have done before and done the assembly here to kind of save those costs and avoid the tariff inflated pricing. So yeah. And the thing is the manufacturing from the 70s on, because back in the Schwinn days, talking to John Bradley, we did a little video on the American cruiser that he has, and that was made end to end, all United States parts. But from 70s, from the 80s on, that's where tires are made in one country, the wheels are made in another, chains in another than that, and it's a collage of manufacturing pricing of all these different countries. And the China realm has been there for a long time, and they supply a lot of bits that go on to all the bikes. So that Trek maybe still, even though it's built in Cambodia, the chains are probably, or something is probably being vetted to go on those bikes that possibly are coming from China. Will the tariff reach out that far? Most likely not. Nobody's going to go through let's say we want a new challenge. If you want to go through every bike that comes in and any part that may have been manufactured originally that's on that bike from China, that would be a very, very hard. You'd have to write a huge algorithm to be able to do that. But in any case, you're talking about rim tape, spoke nipples, cable ends. There's all sorts of things that go on a bike that are up from various different countries. Like United States, we don't build any tires here or rim tape. That's all outsourced from other countries. So when you read that article from Bicycle Retailer, you'll get some interesting insights. Like that's crazy. And those are things that when I'm working in a bike shop, or if you've been working in a bike shop all these years, you don't put your head around any of that. A lot of times, because you're just busy trying to figure out, like, why is this more now? Then you start asking those questions. It's like, why are the eggs more now? Like, why is the sealant costing me more? Oh, it's coming from here. Usually it was something weird, like, oh, a factory burned down or something like that. Then it costs more. But when you're looking at the whole economical landscape affecting the already challenged markets, it's just, and then you add a political layer to it. It's hard not to not watch, because the dumpster fire you think is over there, but you're actually standing in the middle of it. You're like, oh my God, I'm going to get burned. For me, if I do a refurbished bike, a couple extra bucks here and there, it's not going to be too terrible, and I'm not going to raise that much more on the price on the pieced out repair. But when you're looking at a full bike coming in and you're buying that bike that's made overseas, even if it's assembled in Mexico or what have you, and it comes over from there and there's a tariff added onto it. I mean, there's already a lot of misnomers. Tariffs they're already there. And the question is, like, where that money is going to, it's just coming out of the pockets of the company that the tariffs are applied from. Anyway, what are we doing with that money, right? So in any case, that just opens like a bike shop mechanic. He's working on bikes, or she's working on bikes. And why is this more expensive? You do a Google search, which you didn't do back in the 90s because, internet didn't exist to the point where it is now. Couldn't find that information. You just, you didn't have time to put into it. But a couple clicks, man, you're down a rabbit hole with a Reddit and going, what the hell is going on here? And then you apply the common sense thing to be like, okay, what's next? What do I need to prepare my business for? Where do I need to venture or outsource or look at other vendors? For me, I'm very fluid, but if you're like that example I mentioned before, a store that was a Trek dealer, and all of a sudden Trek reduced 40% of their SKUs over a year ago, and now they're going to see that product missing. Therefore, they're going to be going towards Quality Bike Supply or J&B, and then there's going to be a huge variance in pricing between those because you're already on razor thin margins because your rent is so high and insurance costs so much, and the employees need to have a raise just to get through all this. Yeah, it's going to be really taxing. The bigger you are, the harder it is going to have to navigate. I think that's going to be the tail of the tails, and shops, they're going to spiral out of control. Our shop, Parker Bikes, spiraled out of control. We were pretty solid for a long time, but we were done in 6 months from re-signing a lease that was too much, too big, and the market got soft on us. In addition to, there's other factors that crushed us. And before you know it, I remember having a conversation with a family member that was help funding the shop when we had hard times. And they're like, is it time to call it? And I was like, I can't see ourselves digging ourselves out of this. It is too much. And then again, I was doing it for 13 plus years, and it was burnout and also hard. So in any case, I've seen other shops over the course of the year change owners or what have you, not knowing how to do business or whatever the case may be. Even if you're a strong, solid shop, you can be out of business and really soon with a couple key factors against you. So keep your head on a swivel. Look around every direction you're going. Look at any opportunity to help your business, help your community, help, all those things, because it's going to be a difficult, challenging road ahead. It was already poised to be that, regardless of what is just currently happening in the last 2 weeks, but that doesn't help the outcome. Hopefully it kind of shakes out and we have really nice weather and people keep their jobs and get promoted and make a whole bunch of money. And then we go buy bikes, ride bikes, and add more bike paths and all that. Hope for the best, but please definitely anticipate and expect the hardships, because here in Colorado, it's always been a case of the weather can kill you too. So if you have a couple bad weekends where it snows, but it's nice on Wednesday, that doesn't help your local business. Therefore, you're not going to get that service work. You're not going to get the other stuff. So you got to diversify. How you do that? Well, there's a lot of different directions to do that. And I'll have further future videos, hint, hint, of how to diversify your shop to make little gold mines of money here and there. It may not be a lot, but it may be enough to keep you going. And maybe not ideas that you haven't really thought about. And it's really just giving a good hard look of your own shop. And the best thing you can do, if you're a small business owner, periodically, not just shop your competition, but kind of really do a supervisor walkthrough of other shops similar to yours. Either it's a sporting good chain or the department of whatever, or even the mall. And if you do a supervisor walkthrough of the shop, and if you ever worked at any corporate store, what that is you walk in and you're just observing everything, how people are interacting, the voices in the background, what is driving you when you walk in the door, what is gravitating the direction you walk. There's a whole scientific method to the whole retail outfit. When you look at bigger chains like Big Five Sporting Goods, for example, or sporting good chains like Dick's Sporting Goods, they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on people to market and placement and all of that. So you can basically do a walkthrough of those particular locations, get a good feel of how they do their business, and then you can implement similar, not all, but similar kind of tactics in the way of your own business by maybe simple rearranging a few things, make it more shopper friendly, inviting, all those things. And that could generate helping one or two extra customers here and there, which sometimes will lead to a super customer. Something that like you never would have thought. I've walked through shops, I've walked in and not been contacted with by anybody or eye contact. Not even to say, oh, I'll be with you in a moment. Nothing. Walk to the back of the shop and walk right out. Been there like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. That's all you have to capture that first impression on somebody that can spend tens of thousands of dollars into your location. So unfortunately, with retail locations like that, you got to give them every little. That's just one of many gold nuggets as in a retail store. For me, it's like all appointment based, but I do have that first 3 seconds, 5 seconds of a YouTube video to hook them and to get them to watch my stuff and realize I want this guy to work on my bikes and drive an hour and a half from where they live to drop it off and leave it for a week or two and come back. That, you may have 3 to 5 minutes in your shop. I only have 3 to 5 seconds on these videos. So keep that in mind. Any case. Well, I about beat that to death. Anybody still here? Oh man, uncertain times. I feel optimistic, and why I'm going to leave this with a couple of points. And time to chat now. If you want insights of like any silver linings, anything positive, anything that may be shocker or did not know, please comment below or please chime in. But what we're looking at is a couple of silver linings, especially I think this really forces a lot of shops to downsize or be smaller, or newer shops to start off small and not jump into big locations and maybe a little bit healthier down the road. The used market industry is really going to flourish from this. Just for many reasons. So because the used market right now, you can buy full carbon bikes for $300. You can buy titanium used bikes for $500 to $800. I mean, it's ridiculously low, and you can take those things and have a positive spin. Either you refurbish the whole bike and sell the whole bike to that customer that you have, or you part it out and provide parts and frames that you can sell online. You're not held back by anybody's Kool-Aid from doing all those things and turning a profit. And then therefore, you can make a pretty decent profit here. I mean, me and several other shops have made a big business out of that. And that could be implemented at any retail location that's already currently selling new that wants to fold in used. So when you're looking at the smaller shops, I think you can find some silver lining. And we're still all going to need people to work on bikes, especially when it comes to e-bikes, hinting with Josh at Precision Cycles and Blue Sky Cycling or Bikes, Blue Sky Cycles in Greeley, where they are providing those services, and they're going to be doing adjustments on those to improve their business and take care of their customer base as they're seeing more. So you're going to see a lot of those basically grassroots small shops go back to what it was like in the 90s. And, not saying that was great, but it's going to be more for the community feel, and not giving so much power to the Trek and Specialized and Giants. Sorry, big guys, but you guys have had your time, and your time is done. It's back to the small guys, where you need to service us again instead of just being your lackeys and making you all the money and then ditching us and cut and run. There's a lot of horrible stories out there. I'm not going to get into that, but there's some good success stories too. Don't get me wrong, but what I've seen painfully personally up front, other than the latter. Let's just put it that way. Anyway, Joe, thanks for still hanging in this long, as well as you, Bicycle Shop. No doom and gloom here. Bike business is dope. Oh yeah, you're in Cali, right? Somewhere. Oh no. You're yeah. In any case, hope you're continually do so. Getting e-bike doesn't make sense. Oh yeah, renting e-bikes. I mean, that's a whole business in itself too. I wish I was in somewhere with palm trees and have a little rent shack. Maybe that's my 10-year plan. Somewhere warm. I don't want to shutter climbing with any analog box. Worn out by the time and stop enjoying the downhill as much. Yeah, there's some challenges to that for sure there, Murray. Yeah, I think that, you know, there's some truth to that bicycle shop. It's when you're not checked and balances by the consumer, and you're not listening to the consumer in your markets, and you still don't. I mean, if you don't learn, it's the definition of insanity, right? You keep doing the same thing, expecting different results. Yeah, we've all seen that. We've all done it. Anybody with kids, we've all done it. Like, I keep saying the same thing, and they don't seem to listen, and I shouldn't accept the fact that it's never going to change. Any case, like, my wife brought up this morning, it was pretty funny that children, they will never put anything back in the same place except for empty box of cereal, or any empty box of anything gets put back to exactly where it is in the pantry. But everything else, they'll never be put away. Anyway, therefore, thanks for hanging out with me. Not so much in the garage today, but hopefully you like the B-roll. Hopefully that's something that you guys enjoyed. If you're watching this on replay, thank you for making this channel. This is all my plugs. You may have noticed there's a yard stream here. If you guys do any kind of streaming, a podcast or anything like that, check them out. Actually, I'm on the free plan right now. There's a link in the description below. Seems to work pretty well. When my finances are a little bit better, I'll probably pay for a little more premium service, which gives you, I believe, like 4K videos, so you can see my pretty ugly mug, a little more high def, and all those other features to go with it too. That's if you're going into that realm. If not, it's maybe, you know, something that's just used on the free package, but that's below. To make channels like mine on YouTube to help us out, like Bike Farmer, he has like this not affiliate, I'm sorry, it's kind of like a membership thing, which I haven't tapped into. Don't know if really how I feel about that or what I'd want to charge for that to support the channel, but to support me, a lot of us have affiliate links to Amazon. So if you buy anything from Amazon, some people don't at all, just is fine. That's one way of like shop on our stuff and then go and buy whatever. The cookie troll will give us commissions for whatever you buy for 24 hours or 48 hours. I forget what it was. And a lot of us all have a shop shelf underneath for t-shirts, coffee cups, and stuff like that. I'm the kind of person who's like, you should get something. If you're going to pay me something or tip me or whatever, you're going to get something out of it. You know, I'm not a kind of person that wants to support my channel, give me free money. Like, no, I want to give you some value out of it. However you see fit, that's great. By just watching, that supports me too as well. So check out those other videos I mentioned. Check out the other individuals that I mentioned as well. Go Guava. He's a pretty interesting cat. Even if you like the Bike Farmer, watch some of his stuff. He's funny. He's doing some interesting things here and there. I watched a little bit, but he's, you know, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. He is not everybody's cup of tea. But I'm sure there's somebody out there that is your cup of tea, and hope you enjoy their content as well. But pretty much, if you're watching me right now, you're fit within my cup of tea realm. And I don't drink tea. It's all about the coffee. Coffee. Bike prep. Back to that. Well, I better go check my nuts, apply some lube, and go ride hard, according to my bike cup. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with me. And until next time, if it's nice in your neck of the woods, I hope it is, please go for a ride. Thank you for supporting my channel. It makes you, it makes me. Thanks for chiming in. The comments are wonderful. And hey, thank you for just being a part of the cycling community. We will get through this together, regardless if you're here in the States or up in Canada or watching me down in Australia, New Zealand, or even over in Europe. Thank you all for looking in at our window and going, what the hell are we doing? We don't know. We are just as scared as you, and cautiously so. And we just want to go ride our bikes and just kind of forget about everything and still have a job and customers and try to just take care of the people that we want to take care of. You know, and for me, it's the cycling community. You like oh, there it is. The Wookiee and Han Solo right there. Yeah, my brother gave me that. It was kind of fun. And if you're a true cycling enthusiast, you know what this big box thing is. Maybe I should show and tell. Oops. I don't know from my right, from my left. The Campanolo big box. Anybody know what's inside the big box? Anyone? Mueller? Anyone? Throw in the chat if you know what's inside the big box. Anyone? Oh, nobody knows. It's a cute gift item that I gave my dad a few years before he passed away, and I acquired it back. But to unveil, it is a wine bottle opener from Campanolo. Crazy. Yeah, I've not used it. It's just more of a novelty thing. And yeah, bicycle bike. There's other ones that are a lot nicer, but hey, yeah, when in Rome, no pun intended for the Italian stuff. But hey, it's it's a cool thing to have on the shelf, with all the other stuff. In any case, well, thanks again for hanging out with me. I'll conclude you with this thought: just enjoy the ride. Try to get your mind out of it. We'll get through this. Bicycles always will be there. We'll always need to be worked on, and we always will have good customers, and we just want to take care of them, and they in turn want to take care of what we do. That comes from the bike shop guy and me that's been around for 35 years, working and cranking. Until next time, you'll see some pretty cool things, videos coming up. Oh, before I go, check out our website, iknowaguybicycles.com. I just launched the Learning Center. It's still in its infancy, so don't be too critical, but it's a learning center where it puts in videos and other things and blogs and kind of just gives it more of a place. So check it out. See what you think. I should have put that in the comments below, but I didn't. But in any case, check that out. Let me know if it's like anything you would be looking for and add to, that kind of thing. And also, I do have another channel, which is This Old Bike. There's a link below in the description as well. That's where my older content is going to go live. Older bike repairs and so forth. That not older, but older product. If it's 10 years older and as a bike, I'm going to put it there. Tools as well as focusing on part rebuilding and so forth. Reason being is it needs its own space. This is more of the newer current as we're talking about the current state. I figure it just needs kind of more of a delineation. So if you don't like the Chicken Little hair on fire topics here, you can go there and just zone out and listen to me jibber jabber about bikes. In any case, thanks for hanging out with me in the garage. Until next time, have a wonderful day. Oh, gotta take Chippers out for a walk. Yeah, you came in here earlier. Surprised you didn't bark. Anyway, see you later. Say bye, Chip.